Hello there guys, SSJHYPERION here, and today we're getting into a new what if. Now, I'm gonna warn you here that some parts in the series will be darker than others, though most of the series won't be that heavily dark. Now, before we start, some of the points mentioned in the story would require some prior knowledge of how the series actually ends, that being Ajin Demi-Human. Now trust me, it's a very good anime with a lot of different themes that really makes you think. And trust me, if you have the chance, go check it out. Now, that being said, that does not mean that you won't enjoy the series if you know nothing about Ajin. A story is a story, and at the end of the day, if it's done well, then I don't see why anyone couldn't enjoy it. Now, I'm going to remind you guys now to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and comment telling me what I can do better in the videos, and things you'd like to see. Now, without further ado, let's start the intro. A young man by the name of Izuku Midoriya discovered a power granted to him on this day. Not by genetics, not by some experiment gone wrong, but by something some would call a demon. An unholy power that no mortal should have. Immortality. Izuku Midoriya makes a right turn, as the only thing he has in his mind is Bakugo at this time. Bakugo has been Midoriya's bully since they were kids. And Izuku can only think back to a time when him and Kachan had a mutual relationship. They were friends. But after he had found out that Midoriya had no quirk, well, everything changed. Izuku begins to walk down a tunnel, not even hearing a manhole cover behind him rattling. Due to his headphones being in, Izuku is completely oblivious. Izuku is about to make another step before tripping and falling to the floor. The resulting impact causes parts of his face, nose, and mouth to start bleeding. Izuku would begin to feel something overtaking him as the boy tries to crawl and get away from whatever this thing is. But this thing would begin to suffocate the boy as it begins to push its own body into him. Izuku can feel his lungs filling up, his brain clogging, and his organs moving out of place. Izuku would begin to suffer from internal bleeding as the Sludge Villain manages to get most of its body into him. And Izuku would die that day. And there was nothing he could have done about it. There's nothing he could have done to stop it. All because he had no power. The Sludge Villain would begin to move off, trying to put some distance between him and All Might, even though he was sure that he had already lost him. The Sludge Villain, though, would be forced to stop in his tracks just seconds after moving off, as he could feel himself disintegrating. Black particles began to emit from the stolen body as it began to readjust itself. All the organs were put back in place, the internal bleeding had stopped, and all outside injuries were fixed. And the Sludge Villain was gone. Hours later, Izuku would wake up in the hospital, with his mom crying over him. Izuku would turn to his mom. "Mom, why am I?" But immediately, Izuku's face would widen. That thing, it attacked me. I could feel it taking over me. My body was losing oxygen, losing life itself. There's no way I survived. Inko would finally speak. "Izuku, maybe you just passed out. That villain must have just used your body and left you." But Izuku's attitude would change. "No! No! It didn't. That thing killed me, and I know it. My heart wasn't pumping anymore, my brain was clogged, and I know I died." Inko would quickly rush over to Izuku, using one of her hands to cover his mouth and the next to hug him. Inko would look down to the floor and would begin to speak. "Izuku, I'm sorry. I believe you. Look, Izuku." And Inko began to gesture her hands down and would begin to speak softer. "Izuku, you do have an ability, but I can't tell you about it here. We have to wait until we get home. Nowhere is safe right now. Well, nowhere is safer than home at least. I'll explain everything once we reach there. But for now, let's just wait until the doctors come back. Inko would sit back down. Honestly, I'm surprised your doctor hasn't come in yet. Immediately, Inko falls out of her chair as a doctor walks in. Sorry for the wait, had some important doctor business to do. Otherwise, everything's fine with Izuku. It's kinda weird though that he passed out. I'd have expected some type of damages from the Sludge Villain, but Izuku seems fine. Though I'd advise that any mishaps that comes up, maybe dizziness, anything, please don't be afraid to come back in. In fact, I'm gonna set up some dates that you guys should just come back in, just to make sure that everything's fine. Alright? Inko and Izuku would begin to nod, and the doctor would send them on their way. Izuku would open up the door, sending his mom first and him following. But immediately as he closes the door and turns his gaze towards the exit, he sees someone he'd never thought he'd ever see, like in a million years. Someone that he looks up to. And Izuku just stands there, frozen in shock. Peering back to the doctor's room, we look out of a window to see something was watching them the whole time. As it begins to speak. No. No. It killed me. And that's where we're going to leave off this part. So if you like this part, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I know this part was kind of shorter, not much action, but following tradition, most of the first parts are just here to set up the whole story, just exposition. But be sure to tune in for the next part, and the next what if will be what if Turtles and Goku were brothers. And I know this what if has taken a long time to come out, but I'm working on it and hopefully it gets out soon. Alright guys, later. Have a good day and stay safe.